So when Smallrig announced that they were going to have a cage that could go on to the R5 with the battery grip on, I got pretty excited. I was reluctant to getting the battery grip because I liked having the cage around my R5, but once they made that announcement, I decided to go ahead and buy the battery grip so that I would be ready to be able to just buy the cage, since I imagine it being somewhat high demand. It was on back order status for a while. I bought it through B&H, and finally when it came in stock, I did get one. I unfortunately am going to have somewhat of a negative review. I'm going to go ahead and kind of tell you that up front. I try to keep my opinions on things pretty positive when I put it out there for the world to see it, because I'm not about bashing companies and I want people to kind of experience stuff on their own. But this one, unfortunately, I had two bad experiences with, because I got the first one from B&H. I tried to make it fit the way I thought it was supposed to, ended up mailing it back, and then I had to go on a waiting list, and unfortunately they still haven't gotten one in stock since that time. So I went ahead and bought one from Adorama, and I had that shipped to me, and I put it on the camera, and unfortunately the exact same thing. As you can see here, it is the Smallrig 3464. It is for the R5 with a vertical grip. It looks great. It has probably enough 1/4 inch and also some 3/8 inch taps on it. I wish it had a little bit more, maybe, because once you put a handle on each side, you pretty much lose all of your options of mounting to the side there. It does have a few on the bottom, okay, and it does have a few on top, so it actually is fully functional as far as how much you probably want to have mounted to the camera. Because if you decide to put the handle on top, which I do have as well, you can essentially then mount stuff to the handle, which is probably going to be more ideal, so that when you're holding the handle, you're not actually holding all this extra weight. You're actually going to distribute the weight a little bit that's attached to that handle. So it looks great. It's on there. It allows you to have full control to everything on the camera. You can go vertical and you can still use the buttons, no problem. However, the problem lies in how it actually mounts to the camera. Unlike the one that the Smallrig cage that does not fit the vertical grip, it only attaches to the bottom of the vertical grip with a single screw. And I'm going to take this apart so you can actually see this. But that's the only place it attaches down there, as opposed to also fitting in like maybe the extra hole is down there. So it's really, if you were just to screw that on there, you could essentially swivel that if you didn't make it super, super tight. The other place that it actually attaches to the camera, and that is through the strap holder eyelets. And it has these little kind of blocks that go in there, and it fits kind of right into that, so that you really can't swivel it any more than just a little bit as you kind of force it, and also it prevents it from going up and down. And the nice thing about the cage, I will say, they did finally kind of listen to some people. They actually put some kind of felt rubber kind of protectors on the inside of parts of the cage, so that the things that touch the camera is actually going to keep it from having some rub marks and things like that. So they even did it on the top here. If you've seen some of the other reviews, the other cage, if you had the handle on backwards, which is more convenient for a lot of people, it actually could damage the top of it. In fact, I have a couple of wear marks on top of mine just simply because of that. And if you mount a lot of stuff on there, you put on a tripod, you could essentially put some actual hard scratches into the top of your camera. So thankfully I don't have that, but you definitely can see the two marks as to where that was touching that. So let me go ahead and just take this apart and kind of show you what I'm talking about. It's very easy. As with all Smallrig stuff, it's very convenient how they always have a tool that comes with it that allows you to attach things, which I really love that. I do like that they put Allen wrenches with most everything, and this one actually has a hex head on the bottom there, and it also has a flat head like this. So you could unscrew this with the flat head, and then these two side blocks, pressure blocks, you will use the Allen. And I will explain to you my experience with those on the cage that I had that I sent back to B&H. It's really sensitive, and you could easily strip those. So I'll go ahead and just take these off right here, or take this off. Actually, probably best if you take it off up here, because it is going to cause the cage to rise a little bit. So I will just simply unscrew those blocks. If you don't make them super tight, they go on and on, or on and off very easy. You just have to trust that they're on there. Okay. All right, so that's on or taken off. So that's that one. And this one here, I'll do just a little bit more. I'll obviously speed this up so you don't have to put up with this. So there we got that. So here's the two blocks. These two blocks, they seem like they're almost pretty much the exact same thing. They obviously kind of fit in there just a little bit different, so you know which one is left and right. But when you hold them together and you actually measure them, you'll actually see that one is slightly thicker than the other. And I'll explain to you why I think that's a pretty big problem. So let's go ahead and take off the bottom here, and this will actually free the camera from the rig. So that is free. And like most cages, they go across the front. So here's the cage, here's the camera by itself. It doesn't add a lot of bulk to it, which I think is very important for a lot of people. Okay, now here you have on the eyelets. Okay, the unfortunate reality, one of the eyelets, or one of the pressure blocks to go into the eyelets, fits into it perfectly. Okay, it actually goes in there and actually stays somewhat secure, and it does it on both sides. So it's not like they're two different sizes here on the camera, because when you grab this other one, you will notice that it actually does not go into it. It will not fit into it. So when you actually mount this and you screw this into the side of the camera, or to the side of the cage to go into the camera, it actually will press against that, and it'll actually cause a slight bulge to the side of the cage while it's mounted to the camera. And I cannot imagine for the life of me how that would be intentional. I can't picture that, because eventually this is going to either bend the eyelet if you have a lot of pressure and you do a lot of run and gun, or you have to hold on for dear life, or you have a lot of weight on there. It could essentially add a lot of pressure to it that eventually wears that out. Or since this is aluminum, it could eventually kind of strip that down, and it's going to slide in there eventually. So I don't really understand why they would do that. I think if it was intentional, they would have probably had a little bit of a groove there so it slightly sits in there. Or perhaps it would actually make it thicker so it can't possibly look like it's kind of going in. So unfortunately, it's really hard for me to want to keep this. And for $119 and the risk of damaging a $4,000 camera plus vertical grip or whatever, I am very reluctant to keeping it. So take with that what you will. I'll include some photos so you can actually kind of see what I'm talking about. I'll put them on some rulers and stuff so you can actually see the sense of size and things. Other than that, gosh, if this thing fit perfectly, I think the cage is amazing, and I would be a huge proponent for it. But unfortunately for this one, I have to say I think they miscalculated something, and it obviously shipped to multiple places. The only other option is I can order one directly from Smallrig, but ordering from international, it takes so long to get here, and then the headache of trying to ship it back and those kind of things. I don't really want to deal with that headache. I was kind of hoping that B&H just had a bad batch. But these things are so precision engineered usually that that's not usually the case. But it is what it is. So thank you very much. I hope you found this helpful. If you have any questions or you want any additional information on this, definitely don't hesitate to let me know. I'll be more than happy to try to answer questions or make some follow-up, include some additional photos. Anything I can do to help you make an educated guess. Maybe it is intentional. Smallrig is not saying one way or the other. I have been in constant communication with them. B&H, they just suggested sending the thing back. Adorama, I've not reached out to yet, because I mean they're the salespeople. They're not the ones who engineered it or understand it, and the instructions don't say that's how it's supposed to fit. I just don't want to damage this camera. If they said that's how it is, there's zero risk of damaging the camera, that's one thing. But I have no confirmation one way or the other, and I don't want to do that, as I imagine most people don't want to either. So it's not salty. I have Smallrig cages on basically everything. I do. I love the products as they create. I think they're very solid. I'm not a big fan of having this rail on here because this doesn't attach to any of my particular heads. And it does kind of throw the balance off a little bit because it takes the base and makes it more narrow as far as the center of gravity. In fact, I can kind of show you how that is right there. You can see that it's actually considerably smaller. So if you have a lens on there, or if you just even have no lens on there and you have handles, it still tends to want to lean forward just because of where the center of gravity is there. You see how it doesn't take much to tip that over. So that's kind of frustrating, but that's something I can ultimately live with because I could always get something larger to go underneath there if I needed to. I wish it mounted better because it does. It has these rubber protectors, which is great, but I don't know. So thank you very much. Everybody have a wonderful day, and I'll see what I can come up with next to tell everybody about in a video. Thank you.